All right, welcome. I have really pushed the boat out and I am going to do a bit of a video tutorial on using Illustrator. The reason for that is because I know that people might be at different spots with their project and have a different level of ability. This will allow you to work through the process in your own time and just pick up those basic skills to be able to present your ideas. Now, in order to do this tutorial, you will need to have the Adobe Illustrator and the Adobe Photoshop. If you are having trouble finding that, a really easy way is just to go to the Spotlight search, type in Illustrator, and it should come up with this and the symbol for this. Luckily, I have got something that I have prepared earlier. So we are going to be creating the outlines for our drink bottle in this program, and then we can go on to import it into Photoshop and then apply textures, colors, tonal range to really make our bottles look realistic. So we're going to be going through the process to get a bottle similar to this. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to File, New, or Apple N to create a new A3 page. Under here we can go to Print, and then they will have the standardized sizes. If you click on A3, because that's the size our poster is going to be, ensure that it is Portrait, CMYK, and then Create. Now, as you've created this, you may notice that your workspace may not look similar to mine. This might be confusing later on when you need to select icons and you can't find those. If your workspace doesn't look like the one I've got here, a really easy way to amend that is go up to the top toolbar, go to Workspace, and I've got it on Automation. So you can play around with the different workspaces so that you've got the icons that you need. Another way that you can start to show those is you can see under this window tab, there's a whole lot of ones here. So if, for example, you wanted to show have easy access to something like alignment, then you could have that over here, and it's beginning to show like so. To start off, we are going to be using the ellipse tool. So if we go to the sidebar, and you will probably have the rectangular tool visible like this. If you hold down this, then you'll see ellipse tool. One of the things that you'll notice is that there is an L in brackets. What that means is that's a shortcut. So if you wanted to very quickly select the ellipse tool, you can just press L and it will come up with that. We are going to press down, and then holding down Alt will enable you to expand the circle from the center. If I wasn't to hold that down, then you expand it from the corner. It's just going to be a lot easier for us to get in the habit of holding down Alt. If you wanted to do a perfect circle, then you'd also hold down Shift. But because we want to show it in an isometric view, we're going to hold down, we won't be holding down Shift, just the Alt to expand from the middle. Work out what you want the size of your circle. Now for this activity we can just do a bit of estimating by size. The next thing I've done is I've pressed the select tool up here. Once again, to quickly select it, you can use the shortcut V. So we have now selected the path. I want to duplicate this image so that I can start to stack up the ellipses and then join them up. A quick way to duplicate it is, once again, I'm going to hold down Alt, and you can see that when I did that, you've got that double arrow, which means that it's creating a duplicate. of that exact shape. I want it to be directly above it, so if I hold down Shift, so Shift and Alt, then I'm able to pull these ellipses up relatively easily, like so. Now I want to show that for one of these ellipses that it sort of tapers in a bit, maybe at the top a bit more. So what I'm going to do is I select the circle that I want to scale down. I'm going to go to the corner. If I was to just start to reduce it like that, it's not going to reduce it uniformly. So if I hold down Alt once again, it's going to reduce it from the center. Now at the moment it's not holding its ratio. If I hold down Shift, it's going to hold its ratio really well so that I can start to manipulate it. So to keep the ratio, you just hold down that Shift button. Okay, so we've got a series of ellipses that's going to help me with my outline. The next tool that we're going to select is going to be the pen tool. Now this is this one over here, or you could go just P to select that for the shortcut. If you don't have this one in your icons, it could be that you've got one of the other ones in front. So if you are looking for it, just hold down this bit here, and there you can see there's a whole lot of other functions which you could use as well. At the beginning, we're just going to start off with the pen tool. So that's me using my shortcuts. One of the great things about Illustrator is that it snaps to these anchor points. So it makes it quite easy to very quickly start to create those shapes. So I'm just snapping to those points. If I want to get rid of it, I can just press Escape. And if I wanted to, I could do the same on the other side. Now, we're not quite finished yet because at the moment these are very sharp angles, and I want to show that it's a slightly more curvaceous design, more organic. So once again, we're going to go to the anchor point tool. You can see the shortcut for that is Shift and C. So when I click on the anchor point tool, I can start to manipulate the handles so that that's just going to soften those sharp edges and enable me to really show off those curves. I want to zoom in on my work just to make sure that I'm not overlapping any lines. So to zoom in, I just pressed Command and then plus, and Command and minus will zoom out again. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Cool. So once again, we can select the pen tool, or we could just go V. And so far it is looking very good. Now one of the things I forgot to mention is the fill and the outline stroke. Now, when we created our ellipse and when we're working with this program, you can see that if you go to the side panel, you can see that the stroke is black, but it has got a fill in it. And what that means is that if there's an overlap, it's going to show that as white. Now, at this stage, I only want to be working in outlines. So we are just going to make sure this one's on the top and make that no fill. To make life really easy, I'm going to select all of my shapes, and then once again over here I am going to, it's not going to let me select it because I have got that line in there. So let's try select, there we go, and then we're going to go no fill, like so. Okay, and so now we've got this lovely organic curve that's going to really show off the shape of our bottle. The next step is that it's quite difficult to get those exact curves symmetrical on the other side. So there's a quick trick that we can start to implement that is going to reflect this exact curve. What you're going to do is you're going to select the curve that you've made, we're going to right click and you can go down to transform over here. There's a range of different options that you can choose, but for this one we are going to reflect. So we'll click on that one. Now already it's given us a vertical reflection, and you can see that preview button is going to show us what it's doing. And this is exactly what we want. The other option is the horizontal one, which is obviously not ideal. So make sure it's reflecting along the right axis. And then instead of just pressing OK, we want to make a copy of the original. So we're just going to select copy like so. So it gives us the original piece, and then it makes a copy reflected exactly along that vertical axis. I'm going to select the copy, and holding down shift to make sure that I am projecting it in a straight line, I am just going to move this one until it intersects with the anchor on the path of our ellipse. And so over here you can see that we've done a pretty convincing job at showing that cylindrical object. I will just put a lid on the top of our design. So once again, we'll make this a lid. Another handy hint that you can put in is if you want to copy something, I've just done Command C and then paste it so it's directly in front of the path or the object that you've just copied. You can go Command F and it will paste a new object directly in front of it. That will just make it a little bit easier if you wanted to create that one off. So once again, I'm just creating the nozzle for the top. So the pen tool, we're going to select that P, snap to the anchor point, snap to the top of this point over here, and expand it out. And what I'm going to do is Shift C to create. So I just press Shift C so that what I want to do is I just want to play with these handles a little bit more, so we get that shape a little bit better. So we'll just go. There we go. Maybe move that one slightly out. Okay, so I'm happy with that. And so because I use the pen tool from the anchor, it's just joined this up so that it is all one shape. Oops, I'll just finish this one as well. So I'll copy this one down here, and then I'll select my pen tool and just anchor, and then escape, and then anchor, and escape. Alright, cool. Now we are looking pretty good. However, I don't want to show the construction lines of the backs of the circles. So this back edge over here, I want to just see that front view. So we are going to get rid of half of the circle. To do that, you just select the circle and you're going to go to the scissors tool. Once again, the shortcut for that is just C. It might be that on your workspace or on your side panel you've got the eraser tool. You just hold down to the corner and then you can select the scissors tool. For this one we're just going to click onto the anchor points, and then we can select V to the quick one. Once again, I'm just using, now one of the things that you've got to be a little bit careful about is making sure that you're cutting the right path. So it's always a good idea to select the path first and then press C so that you can select the scissors tool, and then V so you can start to delete it. So select the path and then C for scissors tool. Just click on the anchor points that you don't want, V to get back to the selection tool, and then I'm just pressing delete to get rid of that. One more time, so C for the scissors tool, cut those anchor points, V to select the bit that I don't want, and delete. We're almost sorted with that. The thing that I find with this kind of work, which makes Illustrator a lot easier, is that it tends to, the snap is a bit better in Illustrator, and it's sort of designed more for that 2D manipulations, whereas Photoshop is more about the pixels, which reminds me of one of the key differences between Illustrator and Photoshop is that when you're working, and I mentioned it briefly before, but when you're working with Photoshop, it's pixel based, whereas Illustrator uses vectors. So basically the program is running an algorithm at the moment for whatever line I'm using. So what that means is I can zoom in and zoom in forever, and it's still going to give me a straight line because it is a mathematical equation that's giving me the data to create that perfect line. If I was to do the same thing in Illustrator, and I'll show you how to do that later on, you would see it would start to pixelate. So yeah, so Illustrator is a lot better for starting to communicate paths and with the precision side of it. Just to remind you how I was doing that, I was holding down Command and then plus to zoom in, and then Command minus to zoom out. And then what you've got here is a pretty realistic looking example of a drink bottle. Obviously, you'll be making your own design and communicating that. Once we've got it up to this stage where we've got the outline, we will then import it into Photoshop, and we can start to add textures, colors, tone, shadow, and make it look really realistic, add in backgrounds, that sort of thing. So hopefully you boys have found this tutorial helpful, and it's given you a bit of a head start for how you could start to construct your own design using Illustrator. The next tutorial will be in Photoshop, where you can start to use brushes and textures. Awesome. So save your file, and we will resume this next time. Cheers.